พิธีทอดผ้าป่าสร้างศูนย์อบรมเยาวชนกาญจนบุรีพิธีตอกเสาเข็มมงคลเป็นปฐมฤกษ์และพิธีโปรยทรายเพื่อสถาปนาพระมหาเจดีย์ทัตตชีโววันอาทิตย์ที่ 21 กันยายน พุทธศักราช 2557 ณ ศูนย์อบรมเยาวชนกาญจนบุรีในอุปถัมภ์พระราชภาวนาจารย์
MD number 222 and 3 Dragon. 01 Ramphueng, I wanna ask for my love to block my eyesight, let you look at only me, can you? I don't want you to fall in love with anyone but me. At P the 12th of April 2567 today, I started with a song that the wise person heard repeatedly in his heart. I want you to love only me forever, there is no one else who can make you waver. I want to ask for my love to block my eyesight, let you look at only me, can you? I don't want you to fall in love with anyone but me. Which means 01 Ramphueng to 02 that, 01 I want to ask for 02 to love only 01 forever, there is no one else who can make 02 waver, such as 06. I want to ask for 01's love to block 02's eyesight, let 02 look at only 01, can you? I don't want 02 to fall in love with anyone, such as 06, except 01. The reason is because 02 is a person who has fluctuating loyalty. It can be said that he cannot be trusted at all. Throughout his life, 02 has been loyal to 01 since he met him in 1966 when he was a student at Kasetsart University and asked about Dharma until he tried his magic and agreed to abandon his magic of invulnerability to pay respect to grandmother teacher Maharatana Upasaka Chankon Nak Young and practiced Dharma to head straight to the path of nirvana by the method of leading the mind to the center of the body. The seventh base, with 01 as the greatest good friend for many years until he was ordained as 02 and together built Wat Phra Dhammakaya, expanded the work of Buddhism, and created religious heirs. 01 emphasized on teaching Dharma practice and practicing Dhammakaya meditation to solve human suffering as a matter of detail, and 02 emphasized on training Dhamma heirs and taking care of the temple management as a matter of roughness, causing the Buddhist activities of Dhammakaya to flourish by leaps and bounds. And the success was accepted worldwide with evidence and witnesses at the World Earth Day 2016. Where representatives from 45 countries presented more than 91 certificates of honor to 01. But it was the day that 01 celebrated his 72nd birthday or 6 cycles among the great association and disciples around the world for the last time. No one outside the area would know what happened to 01 after that. But they only found out after the story of The Truth of the Famous Temple was released online and Facebook in August 2018. Along with a change in the working group and the emergence of a hidden dragon, who came to tell what really happened to 01 in the temple. The person who lost to greed and delusion was the traitorous disciple of 01 himself. They joined hands to obstruct and cut off the path of the real 01's work with messages since after his birthday on the 22nd of April 2018. But the cause of any change for the worse came from 02 himself, who did not respect 01's order, who told 06 to leave the temple and not let him come back. Since the middle of the Buddhist Lent of 2015, 02 disagreed with 01 simply because he was afraid that if he chased 06 away and told him not to come back, it would create a mono 2 inches, which Mongkorn called a lemon. In the case of Mr. Mono, 02 blamed himself because when Mr. Mono asked to come back to the big temple, 02 refused to accept him, which made Mr. Mono angry at 01 and he stalked and wanted to destroy him for 10 years. This made 02 afraid that if he chased 06 away like Mr. Mono, it would create a Mr. Mono 2 inches who would obstruct and oppress the group and prevent them from making merit even more. This fear made 02 do the opposite, probably thought that he was smarter, more knowledgeable than 01, and probably thought that he had to be merciful to the thief in order to win the heart of the sinful thief. So, not only did 02 not chase 06 away, He also welcomed her back or called her back himself. In this regard, I saw a clip reviewing merit from the temple's channel that during the King Rama IX's birthday celebration in 2015, which was after the middle of the Buddhist Lent, around September 2015, when O1 chased O6 away from the temple and did not let him come back, but only 3 months later, there was a ceremony to give a fan of rank and a position to O6 in the ordination hall of Wat Phra Dhammakaya, giving him the position of the second-class royal monk of the Hiranbot class from Phra Maha Phothi Wangsajarn, Thongdi Surateho. From the picture of the ceremony in the ordination hall, O2 was sitting as the main figure next to Luang Por Wat Racha Oros when he gave the fan of rank and the position plaque to O6. This was because Luang Por Wat Racha Oros received the royal bestowal. He is a deputy royal monk of the Hiranbot rank, who in 2014 had the status to appoint 8 monks. After 1 year, O6 was just appointed in 2015, showing that it was a proposal from O2 to appoint O6 as one of the 8 monks who received the status. It is clear that O2 is looking for a way to help O6 have a place to stand and a place to go by asking him to help Luang Por Wat Rachaoros with his work. This was a case of O2 directly betraying O1. And it turned into a way of repaying the favor when O1 invited his children to help build the Maha Thadachivo Pagoda and offer it to O2 in 2014 to solve the problem of O2 having to sign over the authority to govern Wat Phra Dhammakaya to O6 as proposed by O2 himself in the middle of the Buddhist Lent in 2013. In reality, O2 had offered to give half of the Wat Phra Dhammakaya's central fund to O6 so that O6 could administer his own Khao Kyu Sadet empire and not interfere with the administration of Wat Phra Dhammakaya. This was so that O2 could smoothly administer it together with O1 without O6 obstructing or hindering him. However, O6 took the opportunity to seize the stronghold of Wat Phra Dhammakaya and Khao Kyu Sadet as well, but unexpectedly had O2 leave the temple on his birthday in 2014. Without O2 having anywhere to go because O2 had never thought of leaving the temple, never thought of leaving O1 and never went to build his own empire anywhere. Therefore, O1 invited his children to build the Maha Thadachivo Pagoda and O1 composed this song for him, like what was brought up to listen to in the Merit review clip on that day, the 21st of September 2557. Made O2 have his own empire worthy of the status of Phra Ratchapawanachan, who just fell into O6's trap and had to disappear without a place to stay the following year. However, O6 took the opportunity to trick the finance department into withdrawing the budget to build this pagoda for personal use, which caused O1 to open his mouth to chase O6 out of the temple the following year. This shows that O2 really did not know anything. That O1 chased O6 away because O6 stole the money to build the empire of O2 that O1 worked hard to invite his children to build for O2. But O2 scooped up O6 and found a way to help O6 have a place to stand, a position that people would accept, and let him return to use the temple to receive a fan and position as an assistant to the abbot of Wat Racha Oros. After O6 left the temple as O1 chased him away, it was only less than 3 months after he was ordered by O1 to leave, without informing O1 whatsoever. It meant that O2 had already betrayed O1's orders since then, directly betraying O2's benefactor and showing mercy to the thief O6 who stole the construction money from O1 who found the money to build it for O2. It was like O1 was a father who earned money to build a new house for his beloved son O2 who was tricked by O6 into giving him his house and had to leave without a place to live. And O2 was tricked by O6 into signing over the house to him. When he was chased away by O1, O2 ended up finding a way to get him back. It seemed like he didn't care or didn't know that O6 was the thief who stole the money to build O2's house, which O1 had worked hard to find the money to build for O2 in lieu of O2's homelessness. Or was it because of this that O2 seemed to be helping O6 return to the big temple once again? Contrary to O1's order, O6 did not want the big temple as O2 had signed the power of attorney for. Therefore, O2 did not have to leave the big temple when the contract ended in 2014. The pagoda was not built because O2 did not have to go anywhere. O2 did not care whether the reason for not building was because there was no money or who took the money. He did not care to know. It was like O2 only knew that O1 chased O6 away from the big temple and did not let him come back. O2 thought that O1 was too harsh on O6, so he kindly let O6 come back. In return, he did not have to leave the big temple. It was like O2 only saw O6 and took care of O6. He did not care about O1 or the heart of O1 who loved O2 that much. He did not put in much effort to make merit so that O2 could have such a great empire. But it was like O2 was completely deaf and blind when he only saw O6 as his favorite disciple who had a PhD. It would be a pity to chase him away from the temple. So, we had to find a way to keep it for future use. O2 acted like they didn't know O1 or thought that O1 didn't appreciate the value of doctor. However, O2 saw the value because he compared it to himself that only graduating with a master's degree was already too much trouble and he couldn't even graduate with a doctorate. So he praised O6 for graduating with a doctorate as being very valuable. It was as if O2 saw the value of O6 but completely didn't appreciate O1's goodness and excellence. Therefore, he did that. The worst thing was that even though O2 had kindly helped O6 to return to the temple and have a place to stand beside the abbot of Wat Ratcha Oros, he didn't inform O1 that he had helped O6 like that. O2 thought that O6 would be satisfied and feel remorseful. However, O2 had no idea that O6 had already planned to harm and oppress O1 through the criminal procedure and immediately carried out the plan to have someone sue O1 with a criminal case at the end of 2015. In other words, in the same month that O6 returned to receive the fan and warrant on Rama IX's birthday at the beginning of the month, they immediately carried out the plan to sue O1 with a criminal case. Therefore, a criminal summons was issued to O1 on New Year's Day 2016 and the 3 summons were completed on O1's birthday. And O2 allowed O6 to appear at the temple to help fight the criminal case in May 2016, when pressure was being urged on O1. To the point of having O1 turn himself in according to the urgent arrest warrant and to turn himself in at Klong Luang police station, which is in front of the temple, even though, according to the prosecutor's duty, he can come and press charges against the accused at the accused's residence if he is sick and cannot leave. Even though the doctor confirmed that O1 was taking blood clot dissolving medication that required him to stay still for a while so that the blood clots that had broken off from any blood vessel walls would flow into the bloodstream and would not be affected by the force of moving the body, which could cause a large number of blood clots that had broken off to block the lungs or heart valves, which could result in death. However, The devotees on both sides of the road who were waiting for O1 did not want O1 to come out, but instead saw O6 go to O1 with O1's secretary. Go tell O1 to go and surrender in front of the temple, even though the doctor confirmed it, and there was a representative of O1 who went to inform the prosecutor at the police station and invited him to go into the temple to press charges against O1 and go to receive the surrender at O1's place of treatment. But they refused to go in and insisted that O1 must be brought out in front of the temple. And the fact that O6 and secretary to went to pray by themselves like that, with live news reporting at the same time that the prosecutor would not grant bail and would have O1 bypassed and be detained at the DSI immediately. This is all the events that happened during that time that clearly showed that it was all planned and conspired, starting from 1. The actions of the prosecutor who could go to the temple to receive the surrender from O1 on the hospital bed but did not do so, insisting on waiting in front of the temple, was the intention to have O1 move his body. Is it equal to wanting O1 to die? 2. The actions of O6 and secretary 2, who walked in the sight of the many disciples who came to wait, hoping that O1 would not have to go out and surrender because of his serious illness, and they all cried when they knew that O1 would go out. Even though they knew that moving O1's body out would risk death and the doctor had forbidden it. But who made O1 come out? It was found that it was O6 and secretary to who went to ask O1 to come out and surrender in front of the temple. Does that mean O6 and secretary to wanted O1 to die? 3. Because as a close disciple who was trusted to be secretary to of O1 and a doctor like O6, he must have known that in the state of O1's illness, which was being treated, and the doctor had already informed him of the danger. O6 and secretary to should have been the representatives to negotiate with the prosecutor to ask him to go to the temple to receive the surrender at O1's bedside. Which would be correct because the life of O1 was an excellent and noble person who was a Dhammakaya monk who could not be replaced by anyone else, that is, it was extremely difficult to find anyone in the world. He should not have been risked like that with a charge that was just an allegation, not an arrest warrant that the court had already ruled was guilty and had to be prosecuted and sentenced. The prosecutor could have made an exception, but they went back to ask him to surrender, knowing that it would directly risk O1's death. O6 and secretary To showed up to ask O1 to come out. In such a situation, it is clear that he has bad intentions towards O1, intending to affect O1's life, right? These questions do not need answers, but let everyone answer them themselves. In order to review the important events that happened to O1, and it is clear that it was probably a betrayal of O1, where O2 acted without caring what O1 had done for O2. It was impossible to repay O1's kindness. However, O2 only saw O6 and was interested in the qualities of a monk like him, to the point of not being able to lose him, but did not care about what O2 had done unknowingly and what the consequences of his own sins had been towards O1 all along. It was as if O2 really did not know anything. Observed from many past events, during the period when O6 was not involved, O2 would respect, believe and obey O1 the most. But after O6 came for a short while, any words or teachings from O2's mouth all changed into a completely different person, whose heart seemed to lack compassion, whose eyes were without spark, and whose attitude was incredibly hateful towards O1. It makes us think that if someone could make someone like O2 change from loving O1 so much that his life would die for him, to hate him and not even mentioning his name, not even looking at his face, not wanting to think about him again to that extent, who would have to be the one to instigate him? To what extent? To what extent to erase all the good memories, good deeds, and merits that had been made together since building the temple, like that? As time passed, it seemed like O2 would return to thinking well and respecting O1 like before, only after O6 had no part in any temple activities for anyone to see him for a while. But whenever O6 returned to the temple, it would make O2's attitude change to being tough, with eyes without that spark every time. All of this, the real expert had already told in the first clips telling the story about the merit of establishing the boundary stone to build the church, but most people still haven't listened to it. So I have to tell it again to review it. Because this week alone after there was a clip from Moncorn, O1 telling the original story that was the cause of O1 having to face a criminal case in 2016 and causing O1 to lose the chance to be free. Without any stain now, just because O2 did not go to close the case for O1 during the period that the prosecutor said it could be closed between 180 days from October 2023 to April 2024. And the cause was that O2 invited O6 to join a meeting to discuss O1's criminal case. As if O2 did not know that in fact O6 was the one who hired people to sue O1 in the criminal case in 2016 because O1 chased O6 out of the temple and never let him come back. And it is believed that O2 met the fake Luang Por O1 in the temple, whether it was in person or on screen, all of them were fakes that O2 did not know. Since it was a fake O1, what was said had to be according to the plan of O6 and secretary to who wanted to make O2 believe something and decide not to close the case for O1 successfully during the 180 days because if the case was closed and O1 came out, the real one would come back and they would deceive the temple people into donating money so that they could not embezzle the money donated in any new projects anymore. Plus, they would not be able to stay at the temple anymore, which is consistent with what O2 told the host in March 2024 that Luang Por O1 would not come out anymore. He would not let me stay. He would make me go live somewhere else. He accused me of playing the stock market. From the words in these sentences, it shows that the person who poured this information into O2's ears to make him believe was the person who had been kicked out of the temple, which was O6. But the reason he told O2, if he told the truth, O2 would certainly agree with O1 in kicking him out of the temple. So he just said that O6 was playing the stock market, which made O1 kick him out of the temple and not let him come back, and made O2 certain that when O1 got out, he would kick O2 out of the temple as well. When O2 claimed that he was playing the stock market, it showed that O6 told the reason he was kicked out at that time that it was because O6 was playing the stock market, which was not true. That is, not only that, but there was also the matter of embezzlement of donated funds of a huge amount of 700 million, but O2 believed O6 instead of choosing to trust O1. The Dhammakaya monk knew the whole truth, both deep in his heart and both the gross and subtle aspects, down to life in hell and heaven. This shows that O2 is a person with wrong views. A true wrong view, and therefore sees the wheel as a lotus. And harming a benefactor like O1 to the point of breaking his promise to O1 that he would definitely close the case for O1 when he had the chance, by not closing the case, which he had only had the chance once in the past 180 days, without feeling any guilt or remorse. It is very believable that O2 was cursed by O6, causing O2's thoughts and memories to be distorted. Seeing wrong as right, forgetting all of O1's kindness, and pursuing evil and sinful paths that came with O6, as if he did not think at all that what O6 was. O1 with Dhammakaya knowledge must have known to the bottom of his heart. If a person like O1 had to speak up to drive O6 out of the temple and not let him return, It must show that O6 was a great danger to his group of children. But O2 was like a person without a brain or intelligence. When O2 could definitely not be like that if he was normal. It showed that O2 was done something by O6, causing him to be abnormal.
เขาก็เลยจะพามาพบหลวงพ่อธรรมะแหละ แต่ว่ามันเป็นช่วงเวลาที่น่าจะไม่สะดวกสำหรับการได้พบกับ01นะก็เลยได้ไปเจอ02แทนก็เลยทำให้02ได้พูดบางอย่างให้เจ้าภาพคนนี้ฟังพูดลอยๆคำพูดก็คือในทำนองที่ว่าเกี่ยวกับเรื่องคดีคลองจันทน์เนี่ยมันมีความขัดแย้งในที่ประชุมกรรมการวัดเพิ่งจะเกิดขึ้นเลย02ท่านเกิดไอเดียว่าน่าจะเอาเงินส่วนกลางของวัดจ่ายคืนแก่เจ้าภาพที่มาช่วยหลวงพ่อตอนนั้นหมายถึงว่าช่วยสหกรณ์ตามดำริของหลวงพ่อนะ
The embezzlement of donated temple funds was something O6 had done many times before, but it was not revealed whether O1 knew or called him in for a talk. However, the temple's finance department knew about it. When a monk friend who knew the truth talked to a monk who worked in finance, he learned that O6 had withdrawn a large amount of donated funds for the construction of the 100-year-old grandmother building, saying that he borrowed it to solve problems at Khao Kyu Sadet. When he received the Kathan or Fa Pa offerings from the relatives and laypeople, he would return the money to the temple's central fund. The finance department gave it to him. But there was no return no matter how many years the Kathan and Fa Pa offerings had been held. This answered the host's doubts. Because the host who made merit at the 100-year-old grandmother building had already done so once, completing all the floors. What O1 had announced at the kindergarten was that the fundraising had already been completed for one round. However, a year later, there was another round of merit making for the construction of the 100-year-old grandmother building, with both the original and new sponsors. As for the invitation to make merit again on the same building, with the same number of floors, no one dared to ask O1 why there was a fundraising for the construction of the building. 100 years of grandma teacher repeated twice. Then, in this case, the name of the sponsor of the construction of the 100 years of grandma building at the level. Who will sign the name between the person who made merit the first round and the person who made merit the second round? There is probably no answer to this question either because no one dared to ask. But the answer was only known later when a monk friend asked and received an answer from the monk who handled finance about the matter of O6 withdrawing the budget for the construction of the 100 years of grandma building to solve the problem at Khao Kyu Sadet. The matter of O6 withdrawing the budget from finance to use at Khao Kyu Sadet had been done many times, even for the construction of the personal Dhammakaya Buddha image on the pagoda, which O1 had asked for merit to close the pagoda once in that year. Then later, there was another invitation to make merit to close the pagoda again. The same thing happened. But no one dared to ask what happened. Why did they raise the same amount of money twice? But because everyone trusted O1 and was confident that they would gain merit anyway since O1 was the one who invited them. As for who would take the money later and not return it, they would only gain sin for that person. Therefore, even though O1's children made merit repeatedly with the same merit, it did not make them poorer, but instead became richer because what they did, even if they did it repeatedly on the same merit, truly gained merit. Because those who take it are the same as stealing, and will receive sin. Those who make merit in the past and new merits will already receive merit. But this point clearly reflects O6's character. He often asks for money from the temple's finances to use at Khao Kyu Sadet, but never returns it. Even though he said he would borrow it first and then return it, he never returned a single baht. He even asked for the monk's allowance there. He said he would borrow it first. The monks in the finance department just trusted him and believed in his status as a PhD. When he came to borrow, he firmly promised that he would return it after the Fapa offering, but he never returned it. He borrowed more every time. It is believable that Owen was always informed, meaning the finance department reported it. Only Owen did not tell anyone. He just solved the problem when he asked for merit, which is that he really needed money and build it. If O6 withdrew it and he could not build it, he would have to tell him again so that he could build it as he said. And he did it. He just had to be more careful with withdrawing money from anyone. But aside from the temple's finance department, no one would know that O6 had made a habit of withdrawing money and not returning it. It was the same as lying that he borrowed it but forgot to return it. If he did it often, it was a habit of stealing and lying and deceiving. So when it came to the case of requesting to withdraw the budget for the construction of Thadachivo Chedi, which was an urgent fundraising to help O2 have a place to move according to the contract that had to leave the big temple in time for 3 months. O6 still secretly withdrew it like that and did not use it anywhere or say who he gave it to. When claiming to use it at Khao Q Sadet, there was still a reason that the money could have been turned around in time. But when the case of withdrawing 700 million, when asked, did not answer who he gave it to or what he did. So it was decided to expel him from the temple because withdrawing donations gave reasons but did not actually do it as claimed and had the intention not to say what he used it for, who he gave it to. Where is thief? When seeing that O6 acted like a thief, because thieves are like stubborn criminals, not refusing to say where he took the money or who he gave it to because he was afraid of being chased back. This is the nature of thieves or thieves like this. Only using the method of deceiving and lying to take it. This has become a unique habit or disposition, so he cannot be allowed to stay at the temple anymore because he will do it again and again. If you are not careful or have the opportunity, like Owen often said in kindergarten, everything is done when not careful. And I often heard him jokingly say that when it comes to money, he often borrows but in the end, forgets every time. In fact, the reason is because O6 often behaves like this. But because O1 did not announce it to anyone, no one knew that O6 had the nature of a thief and a swindler. There was no way to fix it or he did not realize that it was his fault even though he was a monk. If he was allowed to stay at the temple, he would probably deceive and swindle everyone and every place he needed money from. Therefore, he had to be chased away from the temple and not allowed to return. So, it had to be asked why O2 did not ask O1 himself why he chased O6 away from the temple and not let him return in the middle of the Buddhist Lent of 2015. Go back and ask the culprit what he did wrong. Which culprit would tell the truth that he was a culprit? And O2 believed him, so he gave O6 another chance to come back again and again. And it became a big deal, luring the group of Owen's children to commit sins with him. Many new projects in the past several years, until almost 100% of the children had only black sins stuck in the middle of their bodies and accumulated sins instead of merits for years, and it became thicker and thicker until it was almost impossible to resolve. They would not be able to go to Dusapuri, would not be able to be on the last express train, almost all of them would miss the express train. To go to the ultimate Dharma, they had to be in a big team. But now, most of them have become slaves of the sinful side. There is no need to talk about the ultimate goal of Dharma. The express train had to stop because almost all of the group missed the train. How could O1 be happy all by himself? Then why is this story being told again today? Mongkorn. O1 told the knowledgeable person that someone brought up the story that Kiontawan told in the clip that talked about building the That Chivo Pagoda. The story of O2 that if he hadn't spoken about it, no one would have known that O2 was going nowhere in 2014 because he made a mistake and had to sign over the power to govern the big temple to O6. Just because he wanted to use the temple's central fund to pay back the host who helped the Klong Chan cooperative according to O1's idea that year. And O2 even offered to pay the host and split the remaining money in the central fund to give half to O6 to build O6's existing empire, such as Khao Q Sadet. The remaining half at the big temple. O2 will manage and take care of the big temple by himself, without having to worry about O6 because at that time O2 knew that O6 had already built Khao Q Sadet to be his kingdom even though O6 was a member of the committee of the big temple at that time. And O6 protested and refused to pay the money from the big temple's central fund back to the host who helped the cooperative as O1 had already said he would do. But it turned out that O6 thought that if O2 could do this, he would take half of the part at the big temple and let O2 take the other half to build the kingdom himself. It became a story that made O1 know after O2 had signed over the power and had nowhere to go. So he invited his children to build a kingdom in Kanchanaburi for O2 as previously told. But the story that Kyongtawan had told before most of the monks and laypeople probably didn't go back and listen to the clip from June to July 2024 to find out what happened to O2 in the past several years. Why didn't O2 remember that he had been tricked and betrayed by O6 many times, both knowingly and unknowingly, to the point of having his life cut off, but was revived again by the power of O1's Dhammakaya knowledge twice? On 2 occasions, O2 didn't know the truth beforehand, because O1 had never told O2, and he had never told anyone. However, there was someone who knew the whole time, and Kyongtawan had recorded it. It might be unbelievable, and O2 had known that O6 thought differently from O1, and that O6 had also thought ill of O1. Which was why O2 had always protected O1. So why did it seem like O6's viciousness had been forgotten every time O6 came back to see O2 in the past several years? And O2 had completely forgotten how he knew O1, what kind of person O1 was, and what morals he had. And how excellent is it? To the point of praising O6 to the point that when a monk came to ask O2 if O6 asked the monk to do this or that, the monk did not agree. So he came to ask O2 and got the answer from O2 that if O6 wanted something, just give it to him. It turned out that O2 would comply with O6 in everything, regardless of whether it was right or wrong, good or bad. However, during this period, the big work that raised a lot of money probably reached its big target of 70-30 and was satisfied. This caused O6 to not bother O2. If there was ever a time when he used a spell on O2, he would comply with him when he came to ask him to do something for him. If O6 disappeared, it meant that what he wanted had been achieved. Then he would let the spell wear off, allowing O2 to be himself during this time. When there was a clip telling the story of the Thadachivo Pagoda from the Hidden Dragon, someone brought up the story of why the Thadachivo Pagoda had to be built in Kanchanaburi that year, and became accused to create a criminal case against O1 and made O1 unable to escape this lawsuit today because O2 was ungrateful to O1 as Mongkorn, O1 told Kyongtawan in the clip last week or not. Someone went to tell O2 and asked O2 make O2 who probably can't remember whether the story is true or not but may have listened to the story and thought that if something like this really happened, he must have done wrong to O1. And this kind of contemplation also gave Merit an opportunity, may make O2 remember things more clearly, escape from any magic power. At this point, it made O2 come back to love O1 again, made Mongkorn O1 know O2's feelings and thoughts that he had returned to love O1 again. O1 therefore sent this song to the heart of the one who knew the truth, to tell O2 that, I want you to love only me forever. There is no one else who can make you waver. I want my love to block your eyes. Let you look only at me, okay? I don't want you to fall in love with anyone else but me. I can only pray, hoping that the spell I have will bind your heart. May love be bright. I'm afraid that you'll stop loving me. I'm afraid that someone will always come and make you change. I'll probably be the only one who'll suffer. I'll take my love and tie it together. Let there be only me in your heart. And may this love never fade. Om. The meaning of this song's lyrics is, may second love O1 alone forever. No more O6 to make O2 waver. I want O1's love to block O2's sight. Let O2 look only at O1. I don't want O2 to fall in love with O6 or anyone else, except O1, and O1 can only pray, hoping that the spell I have will tie O2's heart. May love be bright. I'm afraid that O2 will stop loving me. I'm afraid that O6 will always come and make O2 change. O1 will probably be the only one who suffers. I'll take O1's love and tie it together. Let there be only O1 in O2's heart. And may this love never fade. Om. Because when O2 loves O1, then you must not do anything that O6 tells you to do, not even a single thing. And quit everything O6 told you to do, because you know now that O6 is a cheater and an evil person. Everything that O6 invited O2 to do were just deceiving O2 into doing evil things. In particular, O2 must not forget that O6 even tricked O2 into betraying O1, who had been a benefactor to O2 throughout his life, to the point of breaking his promise to O1 about closing the case for O1 in the past. O2 might be feeling remorseful and doesn't know how to fix this. This made Mongkorn, O1, the one who knows the truth, tell Kiontawan to tell O1's feelings to O2 as follows. And only ask that O2 agree to love O1 alone forever and definitely not talk to O6 again for the rest of his life. O2 must announce this to everyone so that they can be a witness to O2's decision that he will never fall for O6 again for the rest of his life. If O2 can do this, it is certain that O1 will definitely have a way to handle the rest. In particular, O2 led the group to commit evil deeds and sins together with O6 in the past. If O2 were to stop doing everything that came from O6's invitation, the group's sins would be stopped immediately and the group would stop sharing 70 to 30. When the group doesn't have to do sinful work for O6 or the projects that were O6's idea, the group won't have to accumulate sins anymore. Most importantly, O2 must not give in and listen to O6 anymore. He must announce the true truth to the real owners of the temple, the devotees. In order to lead everyone out of the delusion that is a tool of the devil, especially the delusion that says O1 is in the temple giving orders. The truth must be announced to everyone that O1 has actually not been in the temple since the 2nd of February 2562 and has disrobed since the 2nd of January 2563. However, he is still a Dhammakaya Katarbu, or Kortbu person, who is called a Phrapen all the time. Even though he does not wear the monk's robes, he still has a refined inner monk life with Dhammakaya knowledge and has always been better than before. This is the truth that all children must know. When you know the truth, the delusion that is the black sin that dominates the minds of all children and groups will immediately disappear. Reviewing the merits that you have made in the past, inviting yourself will be the best way to increase merits even if you have not made any new merits. It is the truth. And the fastest and best is that O2 and the temple committee and the monk team must announce their resignation from all temple management so that O6 will not be determined to deceive O2 into believing in them to commit any sins again. And especially, all monks must resign from all temple finances. Announce it to the public and be an advisor to the public so that the public can select suitable people to set up the temple committee for the laity to support the temple's missions. There will be monks assigned to various departments according to the original structure as advisors to the laity only. In this way, The temple's merit-making activities will no longer have to be in the hands of any monks, and any sins will no longer have monks involved. When the matter is in the hands of the laity will have an easier way to deal with it according to the law. And monks who behave suspiciously in a way that is not good will have to have the laity write a letter requesting that each monk be suspended from the case to the abbot. In order to proceed with the involvement of three parties, it can be done peacefully in the temple or openly to the temple's devotees, which would be best. In order to be a good example of good practices that are appropriate for Buddhists in the future. Finally, following the real problems that are currently occurring at the big temple and its branches around the world, as Mongkorn Songkhai has explained from the beginning. Now there are foreign merit makers asking questions, so I take this opportunity to answer them so that everyone can understand them better. 1. Monk with 228 precepts are good monks. Normal Dhammakaya monks write, monks with 228 precepts are good monks. Normal monks at Wat Phra Dhammakaya also observe the 228 precepts, right? Answer. Monks with 227 precepts are good monks. Normal monks at Wat Phra Dhammakaya also observe the 227 precepts, and it is the normal observance of precepts by monks in Buddhism. However, if a monk breaks the precepts, no one will catch them or tell anyone. Therefore, we only see them wearing robes as monks, but we cannot know whether they have completely and correctly observed the 227 precepts. This is especially true for monks at Wat Phra Dhammakaya who participate in various projects according to the policies of the temple committee during the time when Luang Por 01 was not there. But they were led to believe that Luang Por 01 was in the temple and still gave orders, which became a delusion in the minds of the monks in the temple. Therefore, most monks who are still in the big temples have become slaves of the dark side of the devil until today. Except for monks who have reached the Dhammakaya within them that is stable all the time. They will still be genuine monks who are the field of merit. Even though relatives and laypeople look with their eyes, they probably do not know the details of whether the monks are genuine or not. Making merit with monks at the big temples and branch centers may result in sin instead of merit because the monks have received the black sin ball in the middle of their bodies and do not have the white merit ball at all. When new projects that were started from the sin side for many years. It is certain that the monks at the big temples or branch centers are not the merit side at all until they have joined the rice offering ceremony on the first Sunday of the month and have not yet started working on new projects that belong to the sin side. More importantly, they must not have delusion, especially the delusion that the real Luang Por 01 is still in the temple. Therefore, it is very difficult to find a field of merit in the temples and branch centers of the temples today. When everyone believes that Luang Por 01 is in the temple and still instructs people who have been doing it for many years, their minds are constantly covered by the delusion of the devil. Which is delusion? There is no merit left at all. If you make merit with monks like this, you will not gain any merit at all. You will also sin if you do not know that there is such a truth. That is, if you think like the monk, believe that Luang Por 01 is in the temple and gives orders, you will also be deluded. When you make merit with delusion, you will only sin. If you make merit with a monk who is deluded, you will only sin. Therefore, it does not depend on whether the monk has 227 precepts or not to consider whether the person making merit will gain merit or sin. This kind of thing is difficult to guess and cannot be seen. Except for those who have the Dhammakaya eye or the Dhamma eye, too. From the answer to question 1, there may be an immediate question, if that is the case. Does it mean that in order to avoid gaining sin, you must not make merit with monks in large temples and branches at all? Even when feeding monks? The answer is yes. Because making merit with a monk who is deluded is on the dark side. Even if you keep all 227 precepts, the defilement of delusion will dominate your mind. It has become the dark side or the sin side. The symptoms are more severe than a monk who does not have 227 precepts but is not deluded. If you make merit by offering food to a monk with bad precepts, you can also gain merit at the same level as giving alms to immoral people. 3. Why is it like that? Answer: because human defilements are greed, anger, delusion. These three can be solved by 1. Giving alms, cutting off stinginess, solving greed. 2. By keeping the precepts, making mindfulness to control anger. 3. By developing meditation, making the eye see the Dhamma, seeing everything as it really is. When the mind is still at the center of the body, the seventh base, it will be right view, thinking right, speaking right, doing right, solving delusion. When considering the severity of these three defilements, comparing them, 1. Greed: if someone is very greedy but still keeps the precepts and develops meditation or meditates, they will have a bright mind, will not be deceived, will have bright wisdom, will be able to consider various matters according to reason correctly and appropriately. When not being deceived, they will not be lost, will not be overwhelmed by delusion, and their mind will be bright. But even if they have not yet practiced meditation, greed will not make the mind dark until doing evil to get money to satisfy the greed, which is not done every day. Therefore, there is still a chance that the mind will be enlightened if the merit has not run out. 2. Anger: if you have precepts or intend to keep the 5 precepts, you will be able to mindfully teach yourself and control your mind. This will make you have self-control. When you have self-control, you can stop your anger. If you do not lose mindfulness, you will not do anything that will break any precepts. Your mind will not be dark. You will have the opportunity to be enlightened with merit. As long as you do not break the 5 precepts frequently until it becomes a habit that you do regularly, your mind will still have some light when you do not break the 5 precepts, because no one can break the 5 precepts all the time. 3. Delusion becomes the most dangerous defilement because it dominates the mind, causing you to see, remember, think and know wrongly. This affects your thinking, speaking and doing. If you are lost in the path of sin, any expression will look good and normal, no matter how many precepts you have. However, your opinions that are dominated by delusion will be the opposite of those who think well, speak well and do well. If a person with delusion keeps the precepts well, they will not show others that they are delusional. But if the delusion becomes too severe, it will be impossible to control oneself to stay in the precepts, and may lead to breaking the precepts. But it is not a violation 24 hours a day. And even if it is greed, it will not be expressed or done in a way that reflects greed 24 hours a day. While the delusion that misunderstands anything, when it is lost, it will cling to and dominate the mind, and lead to thinking, speaking, and acting in a way that is completely different from the truth, without realizing that it has gone wrong or done wrong, because the mind is dark and there is no light that can be merit. Therefore, when someone makes merit with a monk who has greed, if there is no delusion, they will still gain merit. If they make merit with a monk who has anger, if at the time of making merit, there is no anger, but no delusion, they will still gain merit. But if you make merit with a monk who is dominated by delusion and infatuation, even if he does not show any greed or anger, the person who makes merit will not gain merit because that monk does not have merit in him but still has sin in him. It is the same as making merit with the sinful side, and will gain sin in return. Therefore, making merit with a monk who is infatuated, if it is not related to Luang Poro 1, who is the leader of the suppression side, you will only gain impure merit. But when it is related to Luang Por 01, who announced himself as the leader of the side fighting against the devil side will be able to send unlimited power to eliminate and destroy his enemies. Anyone who is infatuated with Luang Por 01 will immediately become the sinful side or the enemy of Luang Por 01 himself. Therefore, the sinful star will immediately be attached to the center of the body, especially the group that will go to the highest level of Dhamma. If they believe that Luang Por 01 is in the temple today and believe that 01 still orders new projects, come out to do more than before, whatever has been done in the past, such as contributing to Kathan 30,000 temples, up to Sangha Dana 40,000 temples on the World Protection Day, which is 01's 81st birthday next year, that is, when it is not the real Luang Por 01 who ordered or invited to do it, but there is an additional reference to his words, it becomes a lie with hidden sinful intentions, with the sinful side leading the way, so the plan belongs to the sinful side from the beginning. Therefore, the delusion is a very serious black sin, especially the delusion about Luang Por 01, who is the leader of the side fighting the devil who is still alive. The result of the sin from the delusion is stronger than normal for monks who teach. Similarly, making merit with monks who teach will not gain as much merit as making merit with monks who fight. For, in that case, will it be more harmful to let good monks who do not know anything about the background just follow the central policies and orders of the temple in each project? They will have to suffer as well. They cannot stand it, so they have to disrobe like that. Answer: do not get lost. You have to consider whether you come to make merit because you want merit or not. Because only merit is behind the happiness and success in the lives of all human beings. If you go to make offerings, offer food because you want merit, right? But instead, it is a force for the monks who are in delusion, that is, the forces of the sinful side in committing sins in every sinful project. In that case, how can it be called making merit and gaining merit? It is like feeding the thieves. Even if there are teachers among the thieves, or doctors among the thieves, as long as the thieves have a leader who will never lead everyone to do good deeds, but only encourage them to commit sins, anyone can give alms to the immoral people, but don't expect to gain any merit. As for the monks who are under the control of the temple, whose leaders are servants of the devil, that leader will never encourage them to do good deeds or do real meritorious work. It is like everyone has agreed to be a party of the devil. Is it still appropriate to be a food supply to feed them to be happy and prosperous? Think for yourself. Therefore, if you are concerned, you must do it the right way. If the monks in the temple are led by someone to commit sins, you must find a way to help them know the truth and stop committing sins. If they do not stop committing sins, you must let them starve. If they do not know anything or do not believe the stories we tell them, you must let go and face the truth by yourself. Because at some point, you must try to find out what is really going on. Why do the relatives and followers not come to make merit anymore? The monks will consider and try to find information from outside the temple. Then you will know the truth, what truth you are hiding. If you can stay, you will be with them. If you can't stay, you will separate yourself. Or whoever has the potential to do great things, can do the right thing and come back again. Stop doing sins that are wrong. Then you will lead the whole group to escape from sin and return to the original good path of merit. Therefore, it is up to each individual to consider for themselves, because this is the creation of merit. And good friends are everything in celibacy. Closing off information because they think it is wrong means being heavily overwhelmed by delusion. If you still close your ears and eyes to make merit and feed monks like that, the problem will never be solved, and the monks will never be free from any delusion. They will be slaves of the dark side of the devil for the rest of their lives. Those who make merit with them will receive sin in return and will continue to support the sinful monks. Where will the merit be? Think for yourself. 5. BOONYA is at the CETYIA. No one can change it to black energy, right? The merit at the Great Dhammakaya Setya cannot be changed into the black side of the current, right? Answer. Talking about making merit about the Great Dhammakaya Setya, whoever makes merit will receive merit. But if someone makes any construction materials at the Setya for the black side, and doing witchcraft with mantras and chanting spells often will cause those who make merit at the shrine or worship or circumambulate around the Great Dhammakaya Setya to not gain pure merit. Especially if they go to make merit with the Setya when there is something sinful and there is repeated practice of witchcraft, they will only receive the flow of sinful demerits, causing them to have sins attached to them. This incident happened in early 2019 and was just recently purified again during the Dhammakaya pilgrimage in 2022. If the same group of people who previously stained the Setya do that again, they will gain impure merit every time. However, the great revered masters will also come to practice Dhammakaya to refine the Great Dhammakaya Setya on important annual merit-making occasions. As for how long each time they do it, how many days or months they can maintain the purity of the merit that will come from the Great Dhammakaya Setya, it depends on the merit power of the group that is in the ceremony of each major merit-making event, who has a brighter merit or whose mind is more obsessed with blackness. 6. Bab is everything with the money, right? Does sin mean everything related to money? Answer. If it means making merit with money, will you get every sin? The answer is that if you make merit with money, in the merit that is the regular merit of the temple that was originally initiated by Luang Por 01, you will get merit. But only the merit of offering rice to the Buddha on the first Sunday of the month, which can be confirmed that there is a separate financial management system that no one can withdraw to do other things. It is pure merit that can be done every month. As for what kind of merit making is sinful, it is making money from merit that the temple has newly announced, regardless of whose name it is using. For example, this month, there is a Sangha offering to 1,000 temples to worship Dhamma 02 or merit to worship Dhamma 01, completing 80 years. Anyway, up to the Maha Sangha offering to 40,000 temples on the 81st anniversary of 01 in 2025. Which is called a newly announced event because it has never been done before, number of temples and time period. It is certain that the temple intends to find money to support the division of 70 to 30 that is sinful from the beginning. In the case of sins on new events like this, even if you do not make merit with money, but use physical or intellectual strength in the event, it is considered sinful, not meritful. The result is that you will receive black sinful stars instead because you have discarded the white merit that you have from accumulating merit, whether a lot or a little, beforehand. Therefore, you can accept the sinful work of the black side and receive a black sinful star attached to the middle of your body instead. 7. Puja Kawe Fra first Sunday is Boonya, right? Is the merit of offering rice to the Buddha on the first Sunday of the month a merit? Answer. Yes, it is the only merit that can be made with money. It can be made with strength, wisdom, or any kind of material possessions. It is a merit that cannot be missed for everyone who wants to reach the highest level of Dhamma. Therefore, if anyone shares the information from this clip and tells the truth to Luang Por 01's children so that they can be enlightened and escape from delusion, they will receive a great deal of merit. We would like to rejoice in that merit. Sadhu.